Hi, I'm Jamie McLennan, professor of sociology at Georgia Southwestern State University. And in this video, I'm going to talk about C. Wright Mills' concept of the sociological imagination. It's the year 1905, and a father and son are walking along when the father says, "So, Billy, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And the son says, "Gee, Dad, I want to follow in your footsteps and work in the horse-drawn carriage industry." So the father says, "Well, son, I'm flattered, but I recently heard about this guy named Henry who's manufacturing horseless carriages that are powered by the crushed-up remains of plants and dinosaurs. Maybe you should rethink your plans." And the father would be right, because in America, at that particular moment in history, we were on the verge of a revolution in transportation. It would have been a bad idea to bank on the prospect of working in the horse-drawn carriage industry. The father is thinking sociologically, or as C. Wright Mills put it, he's utilizing his sociological imagination, a concept that Mills explained in his 1959 book of the same name. He writes about how, in order to understand your own life, you have to consider the society in which you live and the particular historical moment you're at. He says that, quote, "The sociological imagination enables us to grasp history and biography and the relations between the two within society. This is its task and its promise. So history and society are critical in understanding your individual situation or your biography. You can see the importance of the society in which you live by imagining how, if you were born in another society, you would see the world quite differently. You would speak a different language, practice a different religion, and have different economic prospects. You would be the same person biologically, but everything around you would be different. In terms of history, if you were born 100 or 500 years ago, that would obviously fundamentally shape your life compared to being alive in the 21st century. And an appreciation of this can be really useful in terms of seeing the social forces that are shaping your life, predicting what society might look like in the future, and taking advantage of the opportunities that are available to you. Like the father advising his son in 1905, recognizing the larger social and historical forces that surround us is empowering. So how might this apply today? Well, we might ask ourselves, what factors are going to impact the occupational landscape in the coming decades? There are demographic, political, and certainly technological factors that are important. We have an aging population in the US and most developed countries, so careers in the healthcare field will likely be in demand for the foreseeable future. Technologically, the development of artificial intelligence and robotics will certainly have enormous implications for what careers are viable in the future. No one's got a crystal ball, but at least being aware of these factors is useful if you're going to avoid those careers that will be most negatively impacted. Hopefully, these examples allow you to see how to use your sociological imagination, because it's important in thinking about your realistic prospects. You might believe that you're in complete control, that no matter the situation, it's entirely up to you. And I would never say that adopting an attitude of personal responsibility is wrong, but we should also consider the effects of the wider world in which we live. In order to demonstrate this, Mills suggests that we think of a society in which one person is unemployed versus a society in which 30% of the labor force is unemployed. And this isn't necessarily hypothetical. During the Great Depression, the unemployment rate was at least 25%. What I'm getting at is the difference between what Mills calls a personal trouble and a public issue. This conceptual distinction is another way to understand and appreciate the existence of the social and historical forces around us. You might think that you got fired because your boss doesn't like you, or you came in late one too many times and therefore have a personal issue. But maybe you're an auto worker in the US in the 1970s or 80s, and de-industrialization is ramping up and manufacturing jobs are being outsourced to other countries. That's not just a personal trouble. It's a public issue. And that's not to say that you can't do anything about it, but that understanding the broader global economic trends can help you position yourself to increase the likelihood of your success. There are a lot of other issues like this, ones in which you might think the dynamics are entirely, or at least mostly, due to individual behaviors. Something like the loneliness epidemic, or the associated rise in mental health problems, or even the obesity crisis. By utilizing our sociological imaginations, we can appreciate that the obesity crisis, for example, is not just the result of an increase in individuals overeating and being sedentary, but also due to broader changes having to do with more women working outside the home and having less time to cook meals from scratch, agricultural subsidies for crops that then get turned into addictive and unhealthy but ubiquitous ultra-processed foods, and even the prevalence of endocrine-disrupting chemicals in our environment that can have negative metabolic consequences. All told, the reality is that these days we might have to try a little harder to be physically fit than we did 50 years ago. And this is what has always intrigued me about the sociological imagination, thinking sociologically, and sociology in general. I'm just fascinated by the question of how much of what we do and what we think is attributable to our social environment's influence on us, and how much of it is due to who we are as unique individuals and the deliberate choices we make. What do you think? Are we more like robots programmed by society, or do we have free will and can control our destinies no matter what our circumstances? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe if you find value in the channel. And I'll see you next time.